Okay, hi, I'm Ben. I'm joined by Blaber today, who's just beating Golden Guardians in the first round of the losers bracket to move on to the next stage. Blaber, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great.
Yeah, so it's the same result as the NA finals, which is quite interesting. And you were saying on the broadcast, which I just heard, that you weren't particularly happy with the performance. You felt you could have 3-0'd them today. So what do you think went wrong? Well, not wrong, but what do you think made it the same outcome as the NA finals?
I think both game 2 and 3, I played pretty poorly myself, individual performance. And I think that we also could have won game 3 even after the early mishaps in the late game. But I think that we just didn't play a good early game in both those two games. And also I feel like in general, we're playing a bit scared on stage today, so yeah, I wasn't too happy about that, but I mean, I'm glad we won.
That kind of leads on to my next question, because it's kind of about confidence, because that seems to be about a lot of what players are talking about this competition. And I was a bit worried for you guys, because I spoke to a couple of your players before the BLG match, and you seemed quite confident going into it because you've been doing quite well against them in scrims. But obviously because they 3-0'd you, I was worried about how that would affect you for your confidence and mentally. So what was it like for you going into the game? Do you feel more pressure now this could be the last time you play?
For me, I didn't feel any extra pressure. I was nervous going into the series, but I'm personally nervous before any series or any match, and I don't think that's a bad thing. And I think that
confident in that?
I was confident that we would win today in our series, and I was confident we'd beat BLG, and I'm going to be confident going to our Gen G match that we can, win. So hopefully that I'm able to show with my gameplay.
And Golden Guardians, they seem to have a really strong early game this series. How did you change that up? Because it seemed game 2 you had to come back from a goal deficit, game 3 they were able to close it out, so how come in game 4 you stomped them really early and able to snowball that lead?
I think game 4 they just picked worst early game champ. They picked 3 losing lanes in a losing jungle matchup, and I think we were able to snowball pretty well, and I think we were able to punish them for their mistakes. And like I said, I think game 2 and 3 maybe we had a weaker early game, but regardless I think I played my early game poorly. I think 3 we didn't have a weaker early game. I think I just really messed up that game as a team, yeah.
And one thing I wanted to talk to you about was a big conversation about this MSI has been the gap between the East and the West. And I watched your interview with Travis Gafford, and I've heard you speak a little bit about it. But can you just tell me in a bit more detail, kind of when you how you define the gap? So, for example, when you lost to BLG 3-0 as coming in as the strongest team from North America, what is that difference from playing, the second seed from China compared to a team from NA?
I mean, for me, I don't think about the gap, and I don't think any of my teammates or my team is thinking oh, we're just gapped by the Asians. I think the Eastern teams, and I think that's more so what fans think, or analysts, whoever's watching the game, they're oh yeah, Korea and China are so much stronger, which is not wrong, but we're more analyzing what they're doing better than us and how we can adapt. And if it's laning phase, trying to figure out how to lane better. If it's team play, if it's overgrouping, is it team fighting? We're just trying to figure out how we can do what they do or do better than what they do. Because I think that we have good ideas on what we should be doing. Sometimes we just have a hard time executing. So yeah, I don't personally think about it as a gap, just how we should improve to beat them, I guess.
So you think the gap's a bit more of a narrative, basically, that people portray to kind of, I guess, build a storyline around the teams?
I mean, it's true. People just use the word gap, right? It's just a word,
Yeah.
The gap between the East and the West. Sure, it's there, obviously, right? The East are better, but that's just not how I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about how to play better, because from their perspective, it doesn't matter if we play better, but they're not doing anything to help us play better, right? They're just saying that we're worse. And for us, we're trying to improve so that we're not worse, I guess.
Something I heard you say on the desk as well, and I think, unfortunately for you, the narrative whenever you come to an international event since MSI 2021 has been the Scuttle Crab incident.
Yeah.
And honestly, I have so much respect for you and how you're dealing with it at the moment, because I saw Riot and Cloud9, they like to, in the content, you've mentioned it a lot, and you just seem to be laughing it off. But I'm wondering, as a player, does that have an effect on you mentally? Obviously it would at the time, but you know, when you come into international competitions again, you're saying you want to prove yourself, and then you kind of get reminded again and again of the issues in the past. How does that affect you?
For me, like at the time it happened, it was very annoying, I guess. But for now, like I don't care about it anymore. It's been so long since that incident, and I just simply don't mind anymore. Like if people meme it, it's just there. It's kind of funny sometimes, you know, and yeah, I don't mind.
You were speaking when you won the spring split in 2023 that you think this is the best team NA have ever sent internationally. I was wondering, because there's been a lot of fan favourite teams including TSM 2016 and TL 2019, so do you think Cloud9 stand a better chance than those teams did at international competitions this year?
I mean, looking at this tournament right now, I think we probably won't make it nearly as far as TL in 2019, but you know, hopefully we can beat Genji and then advance farther. So I'm pretty hopeful that we can do it, to be honest. But yeah, I'm not sure we'll be able to make finals like TL did, but if we do, we do.
And your next matchup is against Peanut, who, for me personally, I think is the greatest jungler of all time in League of Legends. And I think it's quite an exciting matchup because I think you're probably the best North American jungler there's ever been. So what's your expectation going into that matchup? Do you really respect Peanut? Is that someone who you look up to?
I wouldn't say Peanut's someone I really look up to, like as a role model basically. When I was playing, it wasn't really Peanut who I was really watching. I do think Peanut's very good, and I do respect him, but I wouldn't say he was like a role model for me when I was first starting. But I'm always excited to play against him or just any jungler from the other regions, so hopefully it'll be a good match like between us.
And I was speaking to Peanut earlier, and he was saying that before he plays an opponent, he will watch every interview that team's done to try and get a read on the team and how they think mentally. So if Peanut is watching this interview, is there anything you'd like to say to him?
No, thanks for giving us the free win, Peanut. I'm expecting a 3-0 C9.
3-0 against Genji,
Exactly.
C9, right,
Exactly.
okay, that's confidence. And something I wanted to pick up on as well, I thought when you won the summer in 2022, you got quite emotional in the post-game interview about, you know, kind of wanting to prove yourself on the stage because you felt you hadn't done it before. Mm-hmm. Because that was quite emotionally driven, do you feel you have that same desire going into MSI this year?
I mean, to be honest, like, I know I got very emotional, but like I didn't really feel that emotional at the moment. Like after I won, I was just like, oh cool, we won. I think I just like, I really don't know why I was getting emotional, but I have been more emotional as a person in general in the last couple of years. And yeah, I wouldn't say I'm like translating that emotion to like this MSI or like using that, but you know, if I win versus Genji, maybe I will be emotional. I don't know what to think about that right now, but yeah, I'm just looking forward to my next series.
And I think after your game against BLG, I don't know if you saw, but you got huge respect from the Chinese community about your performance. Because I was wondering, because you're speaking a lot about confidence as well, even though you lost and it was a 3-0, does your own individual performance give you confidence that even when you're facing these Eastern teams that you do stand a chance if you play well?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always confident. I'm also confident in my teammates that we can do well. So I really think that we can do well. I mean, I'm very happy that the Chinese community, you know, likes my play. But I just really want to win. Playing well and losing it doesn't feel any different. It feels a little bit better, but it doesn't feel that much better than winning.
And to close this interview off, something that we do is we ask the last person that we interviewed to ask the next interviewee a question. And this question is from Nicky X from G2, and it's a bit more relaxed one. He just wanted to know what's your favourite TV show while you're over here, kind of what you're doing to chill.
I don't watch anything over here, to be honest. I don't do anything, but my favorite TV show in America was How I Met Your Mother, I guess.
I love that show, yeah.
I really like that show, so I I watched that show a lot.
Even season 9 though. The
Yeah,
end.
I mean, we don't talk about it.
It's the journey, not the end. I like to think. I just
Yeah.
like to not watch the last 2 episodes because then nothing happened. Yeah, and basically the next person I'm interviewing is going to be. So it would probably be Yike interviewing next. Have you got any questions for him?
Have you got any questions for him? No, just how is he enjoying his first MSI?
Okay, nice one.
Yeah.
Cheers, thank you very much for that, Blaber. I really
you very much.
appreciate it. Good luck for the
Appreciate
rest of the tournament.
Thank you very much.